The text came at 4:17 p.m. No call, no preface, just a message that felt like it had been drafted, revised, and sent once the decision was already settled. "You're not invited to the wedding. Emily's fiancé thinks you'll make it awkward." I read it twice, waiting for the rest. It came a minute later. "We don't want any tension on their day. I hope you understand." Understand what, exactly? For the past 8 months, I'd been the quiet infrastructure of that wedding. The deposits had been mine. The venue contract carried my signature. When the caterer needed a final headcount adjustment, they called me. When the florist suggested a seasonal upgrade, they emailed me. I never asked to control it. Emily didn't have the savings, and Mom said it would mean so much if I helped. It did mean something, just not what I thought. I stared at the word awkward. I'd met her fiancé, Daniel, 3 times. Our conversations were neutral, polite. We disagreed once about something minor, and he'd seemed uncomfortable with how directly I answered him. I assumed it would pass. Apparently, it hadn't. I typed slowly. Funny, I was the one paying for awkward. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, reappeared. No response. I didn't feel rage. I felt corrected. For years, I'd translated contribution into belonging. If I showed up financially, practically, reliably, I would secure my place at the table. I didn't need praise. I just assumed inclusion was part of the exchange. But I'd miscalculated. I was useful. That wasn't the same thing. I opened my email instead of arguing. The venue contract was clear. All services were booked under my name, payment schedules tied to my account. The cancellation window still allowed for partial refunds, less administrative fees. I called the venue coordinator. "I need to review the terms for withdrawal," I said, keeping my voice even. There was a pause while she pulled up the file. "Everything is under you, yes? If you cancel before Friday, you'll receive 70% back. Please proceed." There was no drama in her tone, just process. She confirmed my identity, read back the details, sent the formal cancellation notice while we were still on the phone. Within an hour, I repeated the conversation with the caterer, then the florist, each time the same language. Yes, the contract holder has the authority. Yes, we'll release the date. Yes, confirmation will be emailed. Authority doesn't always arrive in a uniform. Sometimes it arrives in PDF attachments. The first call from Mom came just after 7. "What did you do?" she asked, breath tight. I withdrew my funding. "You canceled everything." "Yes." There was a silence thick enough to feel through the phone. "Emily is hysterical." "I imagine she is." "How could you do this right before the wedding?" I leaned back in my chair. How could she disinvite the person financing it? "That's different." It wasn't. "She didn't want tension," I said. I removed myself. "You're punishing her." I considered that. "If I'm too awkward to attend," I replied, "I'm too awkward to sponsor." Mom exhaled sharply, the sound of someone whose narrative had been disrupted. "This isn't about money." I know. It was about positioning, about who mattered and who could be edited out without consequence. Emily called next. Her voice wasn't crying, it was angry. "Do you know how humiliating this is?" "Yes." "You could have just talked to us." "You texted me." "That was Mom's idea." "Did you disagree with it?" She didn't answer. Daniel's name hovered between us, unspoken but present. "He thinks you look down on him," she said finally. "I don't." "You're intense." I almost laughed. "I wrote checks," I said quietly. "I didn't give speeches." There it was again. Usefulness mistaken for invisibility. "So what now?" she demanded. "That's up to you." "Up to me?" "You can plan a wedding within your means, or you can decide whether I belong there." The call ended without resolution. In the following days, the logistics unraveled publicly. The venue date was released. Vendors posted last-minute availability notices. Family members started asking questions. Some framed me as vindictive. Others were silent. Emily and Daniel scaled the wedding down to a smaller hall, fewer guests, a simpler menu. Mom mentioned it in passing, like an unfortunate weather change. I wasn't re-invited. I didn't ask to be. The day of the wedding, I stayed home, not in protest, not to make a statement, just because I hadn't been asked to attend. I wondered if pulling the funding had been boundary setting or retaliation. Maybe it was both. What I know is this: financial support doesn't purchase emotional inclusion. It can create the illusion of importance, but it doesn't guarantee a seat. I thought writing checks made me part of the story. It turns out I was just underwriting it. Weeks later, Emily sent a short message. It was beautiful. I wish it had been different. I stared at that for a long time. So did I.